So the next chapter is building on that previous one about unfair distribution of beliefs, if you like, and how does that work with an omnibenevolent God. This one is about unfair levels of evidence. And you only have to think about Thomas, doubting Thomas. He gets to doubt, he knew Jesus, right? He's been with Jesus doing all these incredible miracles and supposedly, and Thomas is there in amongst it, and Jesus comes back to life there in front of him, and he doesn't believe, right? And so Jesus says, well, touch my holy hands or whatever, and so eventually Thomas goes, oh, brilliant, I get to touch you, Jesus, now I believe, and he's now a saint in heaven or whatever. But the point is that he's been afforded something like 95% evidence level, right? And there's me, like 2,000 years later, being told to believe this book that has really dodgy provenance. So I'm basically given 5% of evidence level.
See, but William Lane Craig will say, God knew when he created you that if he stuck you inside this particular soul, that you would freely deny it, even if he gave you 95% of evidence. So therefore, you see how ridiculous.
But if he knew that in advance, why is he creating me to do that in such a way that I then get punished for it? There's no way out of this. The divine foreknowledge is a real problem. It's like, yeah, but I knew you were going to reject me. Yeah, but if you knew I was going to reject you before you created me, and you created me anyway, I'm not the one that created myself. If you knew I was going to reject you and you've created me such that I rejected you, and then you're going to punish me on account of me rejecting you, you have to take ultimate responsibility for that.
Yeah, you would think that's the case. And, this touches divine hiddenness too. I mean, this, but we're not going down the path, I guess. Well, whenever
we are actually. So it's one of the arguments later.
I mean, it is absolutely. And you're supposed to look around the world, as Paul says, just look around, right? In those days, you wouldn't have known how some of this stuff is a natural cause for why these things are. But you're supposed to look around and just notice that based on the creation, you can know the creator, that doesn't work so well anymore now that we know more than we did. Some people are just hook, line, and sinker looking for, there has to be something that made all of this, but
yeah. So what you get these different combinations of beliefs. So some people are looking for belief, right? And they're like, I'm really susceptible to belief. So it's like, I believe like 99% in Jesus, and I'm a really committed believer, but I was only given 15% evidence, but I jumped on it. Whereas like someone else, like Thomas, had to be given 95% evidence before he believed, and then I'm given 5% evidence and I don't believe, and then but then someone who's given more evidence might end up believing less, and someone that's given less evidence believing more. And so it's just this really weird combination, not weird, just a really like vastly varied distribution of evidence and believability and belief. And what explains that? And what does God do with that? So does God just reward everyone that gets over a certain point, or is there some really complex matrix of evaluation where he says, well, you were only given this percentage of evidence, but you believe this much, so that equates to this? He's like some mathematical equation where he's taking into account all the variables, and it pumps out a number, and he goes, and so you're going to hell and you're going to heaven. And it's like, okay,
and
brilliant.
You get hell, and you get hell, and you get hell. Oprah Winfrey's hanging out with God right now.
There you go. And I came up with an analogy to hopefully kind of explain this. So, excuse me as I read out. Imagine I have a class of 30 children to whom I give a test. All 30 children have different brains, knowledge bases, abilities, and thresholds, etc. I give them a test of 100 questions and declare that the children who fail to get 70 out of 100 will get detention. That's hell. Children who get 70 will get a special treat. It's heaven. I then give them the test, except I also give out different cheat sheets to everyone, ranging from 0 points of help to 95 points. Each child either gets no extra help or gets some kind of leg up to getting close to that 70-point success. Some people, like little Thomas, get a cheat sheet with answers worth 95 points. Lucky him. Poor Alice, who is not very clever due to her genetics and troublesome environment, gets a cheat sheet worth 0 points of help and gets 16 out of 100 and detention. We could actually make this more sinister, accurate. Some children are given trickster cheat sheets, like our Saudi student, Mo, who gets a sheet that actually tells him the wrong answers and leaves him with 35 points less than he would have got on his own. He gets 50 and receives a detention. Perhaps as a teacher, I actually take in the answers, but don't announce to anyone the results until the end of the school day. In the meantime, I plug their results into a matrix that calculates an outcome based on 1, abilities, 2, environment, 3, cheat sheets, and 4, their results. I then use these calculated results to enforce on them a detention or a reward. So on and so forth. And you can add to that, the idea that you could punish people during the test by cattle prodding them and all the things that happen in real life while we're giving these tests and the suffering. But the extra problem, of course, is that as a teacher, the reason I test people is that I don't know what their knowledge is. So I test them to inform me. But I don't really understand why God is testing all of humanity. If God knows all the answers in advance, all the test results of the human students, of the human subjects, what's the point? So, if it's all about going to heaven and hell in the end, and God already knows who's going to go to heaven and who's going to hell, just create heaven and just throw the people into heaven that you knew in advance were going to pass a test and be done with it. Job done. Don't bother creating this test environment where we all suffer and then most of us end up going to hell anyway, if that's what, that's kind of what you believe.
Really funny part is there are cheat sheets with the wrong answers, and this is like every other religion pretty much. So now every person who's in another religion who does not get these answers correct and knows the correct answer to this test, and they're given wrong answers, they're screwed. You kind of wonder who has a better chance, the person without any cheat sheet at all trying to make a guess, or the people who have wrong cheat sheets who were born taught by their other teachers, let's say, who taught them certain things. Hey, when you go take that test, don't worry, you're going to ace it. Just make sure you mention Muhammad, okay? Make sure you mention Krishna. Hey, make sure you mention Buddha. Make sure you mention whoever it might be. Poor people, you're going to hell. I'm sorry. Wrong answer.